watermelon.market is a full-fledged food and beverage ecosystem that connects everyone and anyone in the food and beverage industry. I realize how much the gaps are in this market, especially when it comes to financing. And the only way to fix it is to create transparency, efficiency, and trust in this market. And the only way to do that is to create an ecosystem, a tool that connects everyone so that everyone can work in this industry.
Does any of you like beef shawarma? And then someone would be like, yes, a beef shawarma is 16 kilograms of carbon emission. And then we're like, okay, it's just a number. Why would I care? Well, I'll tell you that it's a drive from City Walk to Kite Beach. So some people think if I want to be more carbon conscious, I need to take the drastic measure of getting an electric car. If you just eat meat less in a week, you're saving more carbon emission than if you change to an electric car at that instant.
Welcome to Emirates NBD's podcast, Watermelon advert out, just to be sure,
Exactly.
Product placement.
If you look close enough, you'll see watermelon.
I'll just put my phone right here.
So I've got Omar and Maryam today to talk about the next generation of digital leaders in the UAE. I'm so happy to have you on the podcast. Thank you for making the time. Maybe we'll start with ladies first, a short intro of who you are and what you do.
Okay, I'm Maryam Alabar, co-founder of Carbon to Capital. So I could talk about myself, but before that, let me talk about Carbon to Capital. So Carbon to Capital is a sustainability fintech platform that allows businesses, individuals, and banks to measure and understand their carbon footprint. And then coming to me, I'm a business student. So you're like, what? The correlation? But we go very harmoniously together.
Fantastic. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Omar?
So I'm founder and CEO of a company called Watermelon. Watermelon.market is a full-fledged food and beverage ecosystem that connects everyone and anyone in the food and beverage industry.
Fantastic. Great introductions. We are going to talk about you a little bit because founders behind the businesses is what we're all about today. I'll start with you, Omar. What inspired you on your founder journey, and how did the path to Watermelon, what was that?
Yeah, so I'll try to shorten it a little bit because I do have quite a lengthy life story, but
You're not that old. Come on.
I'll talk about just the last period of time. I was working in a bank, in a financial institution, and after that I realized that I wanted to do more in the world, and I decided to leave the bank and partnered in a performance management company. The reason I did that was because I believed that if people understood their KPIs, what is required of them, as well as the owners of businesses understood what their team was doing and how well they were achieving those goals, it would be easier for everyone to work in their environment, or the work environment. And that worked out very well. We have multiple clients in the UAE. We also became, during COVID, we helped the Malaysian government as well as the UAE government with their COVID situation. Mm-hmm. We also are the health app of Malaysia, over 30 million users there.
Oh, wow.
Once that happened, I decided to essentially start a food and beverage ecosystem because I realized from my previous experience, I had a cafe called Mamatani Cafe, which had local UAE food, and I also had a supply company called Speedy Squirrel Supply, and I realized how much the gaps are in this market, especially when it comes to financing. And the only way to fix it is to create transparency, efficiency, and trust in this market. And the only way to do that is to create an ecosystem, a tool that connects everyone so that everyone can work in this industry in full confidence and not have to worry about the issues and the gaps that usually happen in this market.
So I love that you built on your banking experience, you built on your digital experience and COVID and then also as a cafe owner to then create this one-stop shop. If I want to launch a restaurant or a cafe tomorrow, I go on Watermelon and I have like the end-to-end, I have all the suppliers from consultants to the food, right?
Everything you need. Even if you don't have a concept, we have people who will give you a concept.
I just need money. Good.
So it makes it just very simple. Exactly.
Very simple.
Awesome. And Maryam, what about you? What's your founder journey, and how did Carbon to Capital came to be?
Okay, so every time we start off and they're like, you guys are 4 co-founders, like how do you guys deal with each other? But it works out so well. And Carbon to Capital started off at a hackathon in university.
Okay.
So as we were working on it, and we're like, okay, this seems like pretty good. So we presented it and everything, but didn't win. We didn't win. But we got a comment because one of Fab Bank was right there. And they were like, we like your idea. Could you come pitch it over in our head office? And we're like, sure. We went to the head office. We got like the idea validation. So we sat with the head of sustainability. He said, we lack this. Like there's a gap in the market. This is the tool we need. So we went, he was like, if you guys were a standalone, just come back to us. And then we're like, you know what? Let's go work on it. This took us like 3 months to just run with it, apply to incubators and try to get it going. And then as soon as we worked on that, we just realized how we don't know anything about carbon emissions. So if I tell you right now, does any of you like beef shawarma? And then someone would be like, yes. You know, a beef shawarma is 16 kilograms of carbon emission. And then we're like, okay, it's just a number. Why would I care? But I'll tell you that it's a drive from City Walk to Kite Beach. So some people think if I want to be more carbon conscious, I need to take the drastic measure of just getting an electric car, being a vegan, all of those. It's just like if you just eat meat less in a week, you're saving more carbon emission than you ate if you change to an electric car at that instant. But you get what I mean? So it's like those
In 1 week.
In 1 week. Just 1 week, you lower your carbon emission, you get crazy results. Even using a water bottle for a whole year. I forgot how, I'm not going to quote it, but like it's the job of I think 2-3 trees if you use a reusable water bottle for a full year. So it's just minor changes that can adapt, and we've seen it in restaurants. So now we've been working with cafes, and they were like, okay, we want to be more carbon conscious. What do we do? Should I buy a reusable cup? Should I buy this? Should I do that? And that's more cost put onto it. So we gave them our dashboard, and we started doing it's just waste logs. So we try to manage their waste, and we're like, you see, you didn't even need to flip to those kind of things. You just needed to measure your waste, understand it, so you save money with the products that you buy, so you don't waste more, and then gradually you can turn into a net zero cafe.
I love that. So it's giving actionable insights, helping you
insights.
prioritize
Exactly.
what are the next steps, what is the next best action I can take.
So it's like you hitting the gym. You're not going to go full cardio once. It's like baby steps getting you onto it.
Yeah.
So that's where we saw like there's a gap in our market. We need to access that gap. And every time we went to someone, they're like, you're new in the market. You're new in the market. I'm like, it's not a bad thing to be new in the market.
No.
You establish the market.
Absolutely. No,
And keep trucking. When we started, people wouldn't sit with us. They wouldn't talk to us. It was very difficult to get meetings.
Oh my God.
So this is very much normal, and with Watermelon, we'll push you forward as well.
Thank
We
you
have
so
a lot of
much.
partners, of course, and it's a very important aspect of what we do.
Exactly. No, it's not just that. One of them is we get undermined because of our age. So we
Yeah.
entered, like, told you guys, there was this one time we had to get in on a meeting, and they were sitting right across from us, and they're just staring at us, and we're staring at them. We're like, I think we're supposed to have the meeting with them, and they're supposed to have a meeting with us. So she just texted me, and I look up, and she looks, she goes like, it's you guys? So yeah, it does sometimes. It's nice to have our advisors over there. So then they see a group of men with like degrees and 12 years of
Oh,
experience in the
gosh.
field, and they're like, yeah, we trust you guys.
Oh my gosh, this leads nicely into my next question for you, which is, what are some of the big problems that you face as a founder in the UAE, and how can we address them? What are some of these challenges, or if you have anecdotes, just as you just shared, of these big challenges for founders?
So there's multiple challenges. We can't go into all of them right now, but I'll give a few takes of what I've experienced. In the beginning, there's always the disbelief that you have the ability to create something. You get that because in a lot of cases, they expect you to be copying someone rather than being innovative and creating something new. So as much as we say innovation in the UAE, a lot of it, or a lot of people believe it's innovation that's imported. We have innovators in the UAE. We have people that have the ability to execute on these ideas and thoughts and innovations. And it's becoming more apparent, but at least when I started, and I think until today, people have that disbelief that you have the capability of doing something new, doing something that hasn't been done before, improving an industry when nobody else has done it around the world. And that is definitely a big challenge that we see in Watermelon, because our ecosystem is pretty unique and it's pretty innovative, and we're very proud of that.
Yeah.
But again, people have a little bit of a disbelief that this can happen.
I would echo something. I'd jump in there because it's been 2 years since I've been in the UAE, and the first thing my boss gave me when I landed here basically is, start this incubator called NDTI. We love acronyms in banking, as I'm sure you know. Very trendy, National Digital Talent Incubator. There we go, got it in one go. And obviously I'm a very optimistic person, and so I was like, yes, let's do it, let's go. Emirates NBD is like 60 plus years old institution. At banks it's all about managing risk. And then the question came, no one wanted to touch it with a stick at the beginning because they're like, you'll never find Emirati founders. There won't be enough. You'll do maybe one cohort and then it'll be done, right? And being new, I was like, I don't know, I don't know what's going on. But being optimistic, I just threw myself into it, right? And so we had our first cohort, then we had our second cohort, and we were hunting for founders because also we wanted to, make sure they're vetted and they're the best we can get and so on and so forth. And now we're in cohort 4. We've had 17 Emirati founders in 2 years, right? 17 Emirati founders, one successful exit in double-digit millions of dollars. Several, we'll sign a POC actually today with the bank as well. So several commercial engagements with the bank. Is it perfect? No. It's hard. It's difficult. It's changing these things, but it's super inspiring, right? To see that there's this next generation of digital leaders in the UAE. They're there, right? And they have ideas, and we have an ecosystem here. Yes, there's still a lot of work, but I think it speaks to your point as well about there's some homegrown innovation that is going global as well, by the way.
Exactly.
Deep Opinion is an example I have in my head. But yeah, and so it's wonderful to be part of that journey. I mean, what about you? So you mentioned the meeting and sort of the age gap and sort of this legitimacy issue. What are some of the other big challenges that you face?
I think other big challenges I'd talk about because the market we tapped into is sustainability. So we just decided to make it harder for ourselves when it's already hard. So imagine going to someone where I believe when something is out of mind, it's out of sight, it's out of mind, basically. So you going to a business, they're like, you need to care about your carbon emission. Well, I don't see it on a daily basis. Why would I care about it? So those and then it's not just convincing them, it's then convincing incubators that this is worthwhile because they have the same views as people that own restaurants, people that own any business. And they're like, it's out of mind, it's out of sight. And they're like, if we need those businesses, they'll just get them from Europe because they're certified, they're ahead of their game, they've been in this field for like 20 years plus, so they're just gonna import it. When I'm like, you can home grow it, it's cheaper. You're investing in your own country, you're investing in your own people to bring it up from the ground, and we've seen that a lot. I think this is when we got to our second rejection of this one incubator that we've been applying to. And as soon as we got our rejection, we were in New York. So we got our rejection and we were like bummed out for like the day. And I'm like, okay, we're bummed out. And then as soon as the next day comes and I get the email that I'm in ENBD incubator, NDTI. And then I'm like, oh, wait, like this opportunity was gone, but another opportunity arises. And we're like, you know what? People do believe in your ideas, even if it's just like this one incubator or like this 2 incubators, but if they see the potential, and then you get it. And we're like, okay, we got into this incubator. We have one of the best partners that you got us. All of our immersive meetings are like, oh, wow, we're here. So, yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Keep giving us feedback as well to make sure that it's hyper relevant for you. But indeed, maybe I should say, while we're talking about it, we've got wonderful partners as part of our incubator. We've got Dell Technologies, we've got Microsoft, we've got Visa, we've got DIFC, right? And I think at the end of the day, it's all about putting you in front of the right people with the right context, right? That's all we can really promise. And then chase relentlessly, which I'm sure you must do on the daily, right? And we do so at the bank as well. Maybe sort of on that note, so we've talked about the challenges, right? What are some of the important lessons that you've learned? And we've covered a few, but if you had to pick 1 or 2 lessons to share to other UAE founders, right? The next generation of digital leaders, what would that be?
One thing, I think, and I'm saying this out of a little bit of experience and out of a little bit of people coming to me and also complaining of the same thing, you will get a lot of no's. A lot. Everywhere you go, nope. And that shouldn't wear you down. You will get the right yeses at the right time. And that's That's
Yeah,
what I believe.
my line that I would say is doubt the fear and then trust your vision. We're here because we doubted our fears that we're gonna fail and trusted in our visions. And if we trusted the fear and doubted our vision, we wouldn't be here sitting with you today, or even being in any incubator or have the business that we have today.
I'm going to steal that quote. That's amazing. Doubt the fear, trust the vision.
Yeah.
Oh my days. Okay. And so, with the experience that you have so far, you say you already have people coming to you for advice. Do you help? What do you do for these early stage founders? Do you play a role of mentorship, or is it about connecting them to the right people?
So the way the whole ecosystem works is to make every founder's life as easy and as successful as possible. The reason it does that is because you finally have a place where everything you need, literally under the sun, you can get, and that you should use to your advantage. So essentially, what we've created is a tool that will help you in all ways, shapes, and forms. Meaning, if I start a cafe and I'm not doing so well and I don't know how to fix this, I can get you the right marketing expertise, I can get you the right chef expertise, I can get you the right restaurateur expertise, and they can tell you whether or not your concept even makes sense. And this is a very vital point in the food and beverage business, because for a lot of people, food and beverage is very much a fad. So people will go to places and they'll move. And what I'm seeing here in the UAE is I'm seeing a lot of that mentality happening, meaning that the way you think about your business as a restaurant changes.
Yeah.
You have some concepts that will last for generations, fair enough. But at the moment, we are in a time where a concept past the 4-year mark becomes old, and therefore you have to constantly be refreshing, unless you are a very old school place like the ones I used to go to back in the day that I still go to today.
The legendary.
Yes,
Yeah, but that's
legendary.
very difficult. And then on the other hand, so that's for on these cafe and restaurant owners. But then you're also mentioning, integrating like carbon to capital, for example, onto
Yes.
your platform,
Yeah.
and helping bring the supply side, so to speak, to because
Yes.
that also is helping Maryam, right, and helping other founders.
I was just
But that's the idea. Sorry, Maryam, go ahead.
no, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that when we started working with farmers and farming conglomerates and manufacturers, they started to see the ability to be able to deal with the end client directly, rather than having to go through multiple different stages to get to that end client. And that gives them bigger margins. And that's very important for the food and beverage farmers and producers.
Yeah, because the margins are small.
Yes, and
Exactly.
for wonderful companies like Maryam's
Exactly.
company, I put them in touch with the people who do have these CSR requirements as part of their DNA as a company. And I will be able to make it easier for her to find the right clientele. So a little bit like a lead generation company, because she gets into the community and we can promote her capabilities to the people who are really interested within that community.
Yeah, I was gonna add on to that point exactly, because now we have one of our friends who started a cafe, and then one of his biggest issue was supplies, like getting those different suppliers, and they're all over the space. He doesn't even have them in one platform. So that's what we said. Oh, we met. This is the point. Be friends with your
Cohorts.
cohorts,
Yes.
cohorts,
Yeah.
or even go to co-working spaces and meet people. Because you might find a startup, and because we're all small, they're more likely to work with you, and you're more likely to have a harmonious bloom, or what I would say. So that way, even when you have he wanted to also be net zero, so it would be easier if he went to your platform and saw a badge or something that says these are they have low carbon emission, low carbon emission, low carbon emission. So then they can just, okay, we'll choose those instead of going out of their way to do their research to go find them. So you're like, okay, if we didn't meet, we could not thought of
Yeah,
this
fair.
exactly.
Absolutely.
So having cohorts is such a good outlook, I'd say.
And the choices of the cohort. I mean,
Exactly.
they chose very well, I think, this
The-
time.
Exactly. We
We
have
tried.
travel.
We tried.
I hope it was
Right.
the same for the other cohorts.
I would say if it's all by design and it's
Yeah.
completely deliberate, but some of these things sometimes we have high standards, right?
course.
That's number one. And then, it's also the people, right? It depends
Exactly.
on the people. And even today, I think we'll be signing an MOU with Let's Work, right? Which is one of
Nice.
these big remote working providers. And I'm sure we'll get them to make a deal for all of our NDTI members, right? So you have, easy access internationally
Exactly.
to co-working spaces. But these things, you're right, only happen,
When
in
you
these
meet them.
environments, and we see it in the States, right, with these big incubators like Y
Exactly.
Combinator. And I think we've got a lot of action in the UAE, a lot of different places, but it's about connecting the dots and also getting everyone involved. And I think the big corporates, right, need to put skin in the game here as well. To your point, to invest in homegrown talent, to back homegrown talent,
Exactly.
and that's what we're trying to do at the bank slowly but surely. Instead of having this sort of supplier, or provider relationship, it's about sitting on the same side of the table, giving you honest feedback as well. Sometimes, listen, we see this as a competitive space, or listen, we just don't, we have priorities right now, our backlog's huge, we can't do it. But ultimately, I think we're chipping away at it to deliver that and then create a thriving ecosystem that you need, right? Because you've got the money, you've got the founders, you've got sort of the infrastructure, the government vision, right? And so all of this needs now to basically, in my head, produce a bunch of unicorns, right, coming out of the UAE. Inshallah, we'll see how that goes, and then go to the MENA region, and then potentially go globally, right? But sorry, I'm getting carried away. Let's talk a little bit about Comd Capital. What are your next clients? So there's the food and beverage industry, so interesting synergies there. But you mentioned you were starting with Fab, and you're starting with banks. So how is that going?
So with the banks aspect is what we want to provide is an API. So they could also use the dashboard. Like we've seen, SAP, Microsoft, they all have those dashboards. But we want to make it more affordable, more feasible, and then also have it more, our emissions are more localized. So we have a research team that has been to the finest details to make the emission home to the UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, all of them. So we look at the taxis, we look at exactly what type of petrol, to also doing the assumption of how many fleets of taxis we have. So for the banks aspect, we provide a secure API that's embedded within their system, because we don't want people to move between platforms, and they're not prone to do that. So within the bank's existing system, and then me as an individual, I use Emirates NBD, so I'd go buy.
Thank you for your business.
Exactly. So I'd go and I'd buy, let's say, my matcha for the day, and then I'd get my carbon emission of, okay, how much does a carbon emission costed, and that would give me a very short analogy for me to understand. So we have an AI that would go through my transaction and then give me personalized recommendations based on what I like on my spending.
Okay.
So after it does that for emissions that I cannot avoid, let's say food, I have to eat. It would give me ways for me to offset my carbon emission through a return on investment. But we're not doing it through traditional energy or solar panel powers. What we want to do is start to we'll have a bunch of vetted green investments in food and beverages, different aspects. But we want to grow those. And we don't want to take the risk of taking a very new vetted startup, because they're crowdfunding it. We want startups that have traction. So we sat with the banks, two, yours and Fab, and we saw that there's a gap of, we don't know what the individuals are spending. We don't have that information of how much carbon emission is being emitted from their spending habits. So that's a gap that we want to fill in.
I think I'm just starting to understand your name now. Well, as
Carbon
you're telling
to
the story,
capital.
because it's from carbon, so my emissions, to me investing in potential offsetting solutions that generate revenue for me. So actually, you're creating a virtuous circle for the behavior to be incentivized.
Exactly,
right?
because it does there are the crowdfunding platforms in the UK. That's how we kind of got the bit of also of that, about the idea, because we sat with one of the advisors, and he's like, he calculates his carbon emission manually, literally manually, and then understands how much carbon emission he emitted, and then goes through this platform, and then crowd invests in a green project, and then gets a return on investment. And he says, I don't even look at the money anymore. I don't know how much I generated, but I just keep reinvesting, and then later on I'll just pull out my money. So that's what we want to do, the same thing, bring it over here, and then let also the banks tap into it, because if those vetted green investments want loan, where are they going to go? Banks. So we want to create a whole new tunneling of, there's new money coming into the bank, use that money to just cover this. You can invest the other money in somewhere else.
Yeah. No, you've convinced me. Now we just need to convince our chief sustainability officer, VJ, and a bunch of bankers. But we'll get there. So maybe looking forward for Watermelon, what are the big next steps in terms of the roadmap, in terms of customers, technology? What's next?
There's a lot coming next. I can't talk about everything, unfortunately, because there's
please.
a lot of really amazing stuff happening. But what's immediately next is the ability to create, and that's what we're working with the NBD on, is to be able to allow financing and financing options to be readily available to everyone in this industry. We've already created a product, and that's why we're part of the cohort, is because we want to make sure that that product is improved if it can be improved, but and also can be part of the ENBD offerings. So today, the UAE is the only place in the world that can pay the farmer as soon as he sells to anyone that is going to pay him in credit the next day, without any paperwork for the farmer to do, without any audited financial statements from the farmer, without anything else other than the fact that he just sold through watermelon.
Okay.
And by doing that, he's able to ask for his money before, which means you can trade finance every invoice he does, which means he never has a cash flow problem, because now he knows how much cash he has as soon as he sells, and he can buy new seeds and refarm and do everything, rather than wait 45 days and then have to call the payer and tell him, please pay me. And that's a whole little story in itself. So we've been able to cut that to 0 time wasted doing that and getting your money whenever you need, rather than having to wait and ask for it in 45 days.
Yeah, that's a game changer for farmers. And as a bank, with my bank hat on,
Yeah.
how do you manage the risk there? Like, what, how have you enabled that?
I've partnered with very large institutions here that have been able to create this insurance capability.
Okay.
I would rather not go too far into
You
it
don't
here.
have to go into the details.
This will be something.
But you have
This will be something us and ENBD will be giving to the world.
Okay.
So let's take it one step at a time.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. All right, cool. So instant payouts for farmers.
Yes. So
that's-
imagine this, Sean, or anyone else, right? So imagine this, Sean. You have a cafe and you're buying things, and you tell me, Omar, I have like, sorry, Arwa.
Arwa, I think the water
لا
is
اسمك
Maryam.
Maryam. I'm sorry, I just messed. So yeah, so imagine this, Sean. So imagine this. Thank God it's not live, right? Like, seriously, we had this
We'll
whole
be
introduction,
fine. We will
a
be
whole
fine.
introduction, and then I lost the name.
It's okay.
I saw the water. I was like, Arwa.
No Arwa water, no Masafi. So imagine this. Imagine you have a cafe and you tell me, Omar, I want to manage my spending. So we already have partners like American Express who will give you that capability to give you a financing for whatever you're buying on a regular basis. The beauty is American Express knows that you're only buying it for your raw materials and for your requirements, because we have control over that as American Express and Watermelon.
Okay.
On the flip side of that, that credit can be used to pay anyone who is who's selling you. So usually you would pay in 30 days or 45 days. If any supplier, any manufacturer, or any farmer sells anything to you, they can come to me and say, I need my money tomorrow. I can't wait 45 days. And because of my partnership with American Express, I'm able to give that to you right away.
Awesome.
So I'm giving you a small snippet of how it works.
what it
But
would
the
be
way
like.
we've done it is even more risk averse for the financial institutions like Emirates Development Bank, American Express, Deem Finance. These are all financial institutions that currently work with us very heavily, and we're growing it together. So we're just waiting for ENBD to
Hop on
get
board.
started.
Don't hold your breath. I would say we'll work on it together and we will shape
I'll
it.
keep
and we'll-
pushing.
We will. Don't worry. We're on the same side of the table. But that's awesome. And I love the real world impact and change that delivers. Maybe, Maryam, over to you for Carbon to Capital. What's next? What are the big next steps?
What's next
Yes.
is, okay, so first of all, we want to finish making the API. So getting that polished and everything. So then we pitch it to banks. So that's when we had the meeting with the ESG team
Yeah.
at Emirates MBD to understand their pain points and then present them with, well, this is how we'll solve it for you. This is out of your hands, and this is how your life is going to be much easier if we just take the load and then give you back what you need. So I think one of our main goals right now is getting, because we're 4. So this is when you have the more co-founders, the more the merrier. So we have 2 of them working full time on the tech development, but at the same time, they also work hand in hand with the cafes and the restaurants that we're planning to have on board.
Okay.
And then I kind of work with understanding the banks and hopefully get them on board, and then that's how we're doing it simultaneously.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so on one side the F&B space, and on the other side the banks.
Exactly,
as well.
but we don't even just direct F&B. Like we have another. We still didn't finalize anything, but we're just understanding where their expenditure is going and where their carbon emission is going. But it's a company that makes jewelries from diamonds to gold, and they're based in Dubai Mall and I think in Dera Gold Souk. So it's not just F&B and everything. Any business emits carbon emissions. So we want to tap into all of them and then make them understand their carbon emissions, lower their carbon emission, because there's a regulation coming in May 30th of this year.
Okay.
And they have a grace period of a year. And the law is kind of vague because it says all entities that emit GHG gases. So then everyone kind of emits GHG gases. So then they're all in a bubble. And we want to basically tap into them before the fines come in. Next year, the fines are ranging from 50,000 to 2 million. Okay. No one wants to pay 2 million for a carbon emission.
Nobody wants to pay 50,000.
No wants to pay
Yes.
2 million. And I'm like, okay, that's just the first year. It might go heftier next year because they want to be, we have a net 2030 agenda that we want to meet. And then by 2050, we want to be net zero. So the country wants to hit those goals, but companies are not hitting those goals. So they're like, might as well find you guys so you guys can get working on those aspects.
Awesome. So you've got great regulatory tailwinds as well, sort of pushing you and giving you an opportunity there.
Giving us a little of a push. We don't want to be like the guys with, well, the regulations right here. You guys need to come to us. So we want to be like kind of the solution. If whatever company is talking about their carbon emission, they want it calculated, they'll just be like, oh, go to carbon capital.
And make a return on it, right? Very
return on it. That's what we want to do.
Okay, cool. So thank you for that. That was a really cool journey into each of your lives and the paths of your businesses. The title of the podcast is about investing in the next generation of digital leaders in the UAE. We've got about 1 million subscribers on LinkedIn, right, where we're going to be publishing this. If you had one message, right, to say to this next generation of digital leaders in the UAE, not to put you on the spot, I guess you're already like, oh God, what am I going to say, right? If you had one message to them, someone fresh out of university thinking about their career, right? What would that be? Who wants to go first?
I can go first. I'll use the same line again. Trust the vision and doubt the fear. That's
trust
what I
the
say.
vision, doubt the fear, trust the vision. Okay,
Exactly.
no, that's a very clear message. Omar?
We are in a very interesting time in the world of digital and digitization and the way the market's going. My advice would be is keep yourself extremely close to what's happening in the digital and tech world. I believe we are seeing right now a revolution, obviously, or not an evolution, a revolution of an industrial kind of revolution scale, only much faster with what's happening with the tech world today. AI, MCPs, machine learning, crypto, multiple things, blockchain, multiple things happening at the same time. I think keeping yourself close to that, doubting fears and trusting vision, especially when it comes to that, because I think there's a lot of potential for the new digital talent. And there's a lot of solutions out there that have not been built yet. Some very simple, some very complex. But I believe there's a lot there that can still be built. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I believe the majority of these gaps and issues in the market would have already been figured out.
Yeah. We did so well. We lasted the whole podcast without saying AI until the very end, but in the right place at the right time.
Thank you.
I would echo that. I would also tell people to take risks, optimize for learning at the beginning, not for salary, right? And take the less traveled road. Try to build something. You've got a whole infrastructure. You've got ENBD with NDTI. Happy to help and support the ecosystem. Reach out to founders like yourselves, right? Because this is how you learn from other people's experiences. You've gone through the good, the bad, and the ugly, so you can help a lot of these people. I want to thank both of you for your time today at the podcast, and looking forward to see what you make out of your businesses.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Maryam.